You know that feeling when you're trying to, say, eat healthier, or maybe finally start that exercise routine,
Right.
or even just like ditch that doom scrolling habit, and it just feels like you're pushing a massive boulder uphill?
Oh, yeah. We've all been there. It's a really common frustration, isn't it?
Totally. But what if maybe the reason those changes aren't sticking isn't really about some, flaw in your willpower?
Right. What if it's more about understanding the hidden gears,
Yeah.
the stuff that actually drives our habits behind the scenes?
Exactly. And that's what we're unpacking today.
That's the plan. We're going straight to the source, doing a deep dive into James Clear's Atomic Habits.
Okay.
Think of this as your fast track, getting under the hood of how habits really work.
So the goal is.
Well, our goal is to pull out the most impactful ideas, those, aha moments, and the practical insights that can actually shift the needle for you.
Okay, good. So let's start with that frustrating bit. When you're putting in all the effort, but the results just aren't showing up yet.
Ah, yes. Clear calls that the plateau of latent potential.
That phrase really clicked with me, and his analogy, the ice cube one.
It's brilliant, isn't it?
Yeah. So you take an ice cube at, say, 25 degrees,
Uh-huh.
and you steadily raise the temperature, 26, 27, up to 31 degrees.
And to your eye, nothing seems to be happening. It's still just, a solid block of ice.
Exactly. But all that energy, that heat you're putting in, it isn't wasted.
No, it's being stored, building up.
And then suddenly, at 32 degrees.
Bang! It all changes. That's the melting point, the breakthrough.
And that mirrors habit building so well.
It really does. You might be consistently showing up at the gym or writing a little bit each day or practicing that instrument.
And feeling like you're making zero progress, just spinning your wheels.
Right. But Clear emphasizes that effort is actually accumulating beneath the surface. It's building momentum you can't see yet.
So that overnight success story we always hear about.
It's almost always the result of all that invisible work finally hitting its critical point. It's about perseverance, sticking with it through that seemingly stagnant bit.
Okay, so it's clearly not just about wanting a new habit, it's deeper.
Much deeper. Clear makes a really strong case that our habits are fundamentally tied to our sense of identity.
Identity.
Okay.
What does that mean in practice, though? How does that work?
Well, at its core, it means our habits reflect who we believe ourselves to be.
Right.
Think about it. There's an inherent identity linked to any system of habits. Yours personally, a team's culture, even a whole society's norms.
Uh-huh.
And here's the crucial insight. Any behavior that clashes with that deeply held self-image, it's going to be incredibly difficult to maintain long-term.
Okay, can you give us a concrete example to make it clearer?
Sure. Let's say someone wants to save more money. That's the goal.
Okay.
But their fundamental identity is that of a consumer.
Right.
Someone who primarily enjoys buying things, acquiring stuff.
Right, I know people like that.
They might set budgets, try to cut back, but they'll likely find themselves constantly fighting that urge to spend because spending aligns with how they see themselves.
It feels natural to them.
Exactly. Or another one. Someone wants to be healthier. Intellectually, they want it.
Uh-huh.
But if they identify as someone who prioritizes comfort and ease above everything else, well, consistently choosing the couch over a workout just feels more them, even if they desire better health.
Wow. So just setting new goals or making plans isn't enough. Not by a long shot.
Nope. You have to dig deeper, potentially reshape those core beliefs about yourself.
That sounds hard.
It can be, but it's essential. You can set ambitious goals, create detailed plans, but if you haven't addressed the underlying beliefs driving your past actions, lasting change, probably not going to happen.
Okay.
That's why Clear stresses that every single action we take, it's like a vote.
A vote. How so?
A vote for the kind of person we want to become.
Huh. A vote. I like that. Makes it feel less abstract, more active.
Think about it. No single action magically transforms your identity overnight. That's obvious.
Right.
But as these votes accumulate day after day, so does the evidence. The proof that supports your evolving self-image.
And that's where the small habits come in, the atomic part.
Exactly. That's where their power lies. They provide tangible proof of who you're becoming. Writing just one sentence maybe doesn't make you a novelist instantly.
Of course not.
But it casts a vote for your identity as a writer. Practicing an instrument for 5 minutes reinforces your identity as a musician.
Even a short walk is a vote for being someone healthy.
Precisely. Or encouraging a colleague is a vote for being a supportive leader. It all adds up.
So it's about building self-trust through these little wins, kind of rewriting the story we tell ourselves about who we are.
You got it.
Mm.
Habits aren't just about achieving external results like losing weight or finishing a project. They're also about building confidence in your ability to follow through, to change.
Oh.
As you consistently perform these small habits, the evidence builds.
Yeah.
Your internal narrative starts to shift.
But it works both ways, right? Bad habits reinforce negative identities too.
Absolutely. The flip side is true. But here's the encouraging part. You don't need to be perfect.
Oh, thank goodness.
Yeah. Just like in an election, you don't need 100% of the votes. You just need a consistent majority. The aim is to consistently cast more votes for the identity you genuinely desire.
Okay, that feels more manageable. So how do we actually start building this new identity through habits, practically speaking?
Clearly lays out a pretty straightforward two-step process.
Okay.
First, you need to decide. Clearly decide on the type of person you aspire to be.
Be specific.
Yeah, think about it at
Yeah.
any level. Individual, relationships, work. What principles do you want to embody? Who do you ultimately want to become?
All right, step 1, decide. What's step 2?
Step 2, and this is absolutely key, prove it to yourself. With small, consistent wins. It's not enough to just want to be that person. You need to provide yourself with tangible evidence through your daily actions, those votes we talked about.
And that really drives home the point that identity isn't fixed. We actually have agency, a choice in shaping who we become.
Absolutely. You have the power to actively shape your beliefs about yourself. It's not set in stone.
That's empowering.
It is. In every single moment, you have a choice. You can reinforce the identity you desire through the habits you choose to cultivate.
So building better habits, it's not just about having something like more money or better health.
Fundamentally, it's about the ongoing process of becoming someone, becoming the person you want to be.
Right, okay. That link between identity and habits is super clear now. Let's get into the mechanics, the actual formation process.
Yeah.
Clear talks about 4 distinct stages for every habit.
Yeah, the 4 stages. Every single habit, good or bad, the ones you want or the ones you hate. They all unfold in this consistent 4-step pattern.
Always the same pattern.
Always. It's cue, craving, response, and reward. That's the fundamental feedback loop. Your brain runs through these stages in that order every single time.
Okay, cue, craving, response, reward. Let's break them down. Stage 1. The cue, what is it?
The cue is basically the trigger. It's the signal to your brain that says, hey, a reward might be coming.
Like a notification sound on your phone.
That's a perfect modern example. It's a piece of information that prompts your brain to initiate a behavior. Think back evolutionarily.
Okay.
Our ancestors were constantly scanning for cues, predicting primary rewards, food, water, safety, sex, essential stuff.
Right, survival.
Exactly. Now, in our modern world, those primal needs are still there, but we often respond to cues predicting secondary rewards.
Like what?
Things like money, fame, status, praise, connection, satisfaction, even just avoiding discomfort. But often, even these secondary rewards kind of link back to those fundamental survival and social needs.
Okay, so the cue triggers the brain, and that leads to the craving. Stage 2.
Precisely. The craving is the engine. It's the motivational force behind every habit.
So you craved the habit itself.
Not necessarily the habit itself. I mean, nobody craves flossing, right?
Huh, probably not.
You crave the change or the feeling that the habit delivers. It's tied to the anticipation of pleasure or relief.
Ah, the anticipation.
Yeah. When you hit a cue, your brain associates with a past reward. It starts predicting that reward again, and that prediction fuels the craving to act. Often, it's the anticipation of the reward, even more than getting the reward itself, that really drives us.
Interesting. Okay, cue sparks the craving, the desire,
Mm-hmm.
which then leads to stage 3, the response.
Yep. The response is the actual habit you perform. It could be a physical action like going for that run,
Or checking your phone.
or even just a thought like worrying about something.
Right.
Now, whether you actually follow through with the response depends on a couple of things.
Right.
First, motivation, how strong is that craving? And second, friction, how much effort is involved.
Friction. Like how hard it is to do.
Exactly. If a habit seems too difficult, takes too much immediate effort, even a strong craving might not be enough to get you to do it.
Mm-mm.
The path of least resistance often wins.
Makes sense. And finally, stage 4, the reward.
The reward is the end goal.
Hmm.
It satisfies the craving. That's its first job.
Okay.
But it does something even more crucial. The reward teaches your brain.
Yeah.
It says, hey, that action, that was good. Remember it. Do it again next time.
Ah, so it closes the loop, reinforces the whole cycle.
Exactly. It completes the feedback loop. Your brain is constantly acting like this reward detector, monitoring which actions lead to good outcomes, satisfaction. And those are the behaviors it prioritizes repeating.
So if any one of these four stages, cue, craving, response, reward, is weak or missing.
The habit won't form, or it
Oh,
won't
Lord.
stick long term.
Okay.
If the cue is absent or you don't notice it, the sequence doesn't even start. If the craving isn't strong enough, no motivation. If the response is too hard, you won't do it. And if the reward doesn't satisfy the craving.
The brain won't register it as worthwhile. Why bother repeating it?
You got it. All four stages need to be working effectively for a habit to lock in and become automatic.
Okay, this four-stage framework cue, craving, response, reward, gives us a really clear lens. So now how do we use this? Let's talk about building good habits, starting with law #1. Make it obvious.
Right? Awareness. That's the absolute first step to changing anything.
Becoming aware of our current habits.
Yeah, because as Clear points out, once habits become automatic, ingrained, they often operate on autopilot. We
Yeah.
stop paying conscious attention to the cues that trigger them.
Like driving a familiar route, you just sort of arrive.
Exactly. Or a musician playing a piece they know inside out. The brain automates routine stuff to free up resources. It's efficient.
But it means we can be blind to habits that aren't actually serving us well.
Precisely. We become blind to our own behavior sometimes. So we need to bring those unconscious patterns into conscious awareness, become detectives of our own routines, like you said earlier.
So how do we do that? How do we boost awareness?
Clear mentions a couple of practical tools. One is called pointing and calling.
Pointing and calling. What's that?
It sounds maybe a bit silly, but it's about verbally stating your intended actions as you do them.
By saying it out loud.
Yeah, like, I am putting my keys on the hook now. Or his wife, before a trip, verbally listing essential items as she packs them. Passport. Check. Wallet. Check.
Okay.
By saying it out loud, you take a non-conscious habit or intention and bring it to a more deliberate conscious level. It just increases awareness of what you're actually doing.
Interesting. What's the other tool?
The habit scorecard. This is a really simple but effective exercise.
Okay.
You just make a list. List all your current habits, good, bad, neutral, write them down.
Just the act of writing forces you to confront them.
Exactly. You see your patterns, you start identifying the cues that usually precede them, the rewards you're maybe seeking. It's like taking an inventory of your behavioral landscape.
Okay, so we raise our awareness. Then what? How do we make the good habits more obvious?
A super effective strategy is forming a specific implementation intention.
Implementation intention sounds fancy.
It just means a very clear plan, explicitly stating when and where you will perform a new habit.
Gotcha.
There was this compelling study in Great Britain on exercise.
Yeah.
One group just tracked their exercise, another got motivational reading, but a third group formed a specific intention. During the next week, I will do 20 minutes of vigorous exercise on day at time and place.
And what happened?
Their exercise rate was more than double the other groups. Just having that specific plan made a huge difference.
Wow. So it's about ditching vague wishes like, I should exercise more.
Right.
And replacing them with concrete plans.
Right.
I will go for a 30-minute walk on Tuesday at 6 p.m. around the block.
Precisely. You define the when and where. You eliminate the ambiguity. Makes it much more likely you'll follow through.
Okay, implementation intentions. What else?
Another really effective technique is habit stacking.
Habit stacking.
Okay, this involves linking a new habit you want to adopt to an existing habit you already do regularly.
Piggybacking on something you already do.
Exactly. The formula is simple. After current habit, I will new habit.
Can you give some examples?
Sure. Like, after I brush my teeth in the morning, current habit, I will do 1 minute of stretching, new habit.
Okay.
Or, after I sit down at my desk to start work, current habit, I will take 3 deep breaths, new habit.
Typical.
After I get into bed at night, current habit, I will read 1 page of a book, new habit.
Yeah.
The key is finding that existing routine to act as the trigger, the anchor for the new behavior. You can even chain a few together.
Cool. And then there's the environment, right? The physical space around us.
Huge influence,
Oh.
often unconscious. Our environment shapes our behavior dramatically.
How so?
Well, we tend to gravitate towards the option that's most obvious, most readily available. Think about why you grab certain snacks.
Because they're right there on the counter.
Often, yeah. They're in prominent locations, visually appealing. Vision is usually our dominant sense, so visual cues are incredibly powerful triggers.
So we need to consciously design our environment. Make the good cues obvious and hide the bad ones.
That's exactly it. Make your environment rich in cues for the habits you want. Lay out your workout clothes the night before. Keep fruit visible. Put the book by your bedside.
And for the bad habits,
Make those cues less obvious. Hide the junk food. Keep your phone in another room when you need to focus. Make the path to the bad habit harder.
And changing context helps too, like starting a habit in a new place.
Yeah, the power of context is significant. Sometimes starting new habits is easier in a new environment because you escape the old triggers, the old web of cues tied to your routines.
That reminds me of that study Clear mentions about the soldiers returning from Vietnam and heroin addiction.
Oh yeah, that's a powerful example of environment's impact. Huge numbers used heroin in Vietnam.
Right.
But when they came home, the vast majority, like 90%, did not become re-addicted.
Which went against what people thought about addiction back then.
Totally. It suggested addiction wasn't necessarily permanent. The radical shift in environment, away from the stress and the cues of Vietnam, it allowed those addictions to mostly dissolve.
Wow. It really shows how much our surroundings shape us, often without us realizing.
Absolutely. And it highlights a crucial point.
Mm-hmm.
The people who seem to have the best self-control,
Yeah.
they often aren't relying on sheer willpower. They're designing their environments to minimize temptation.
Hmm.
They make the right choices, the easy default choices.
Okay, that makes total sense. Design your world. So we've made good habits obvious. Law, #2. Make it attractive. How do we do that?
The basic idea here is simple. The more attractive an opportunity seems, the more likely it is to become a habit.
And what makes something attractive? Is it just pleasure?
It's often connected to our brain's reward system, especially dopamine. Habits run on this dopamine-driven feedback loop.
Okay.
Dopamine spikes not just when we get a reward, but maybe even more importantly, in anticipation of a reward.
Ah, that anticipation again.
Yeah, it's that feeling of looking forward to something good. That's what fuels our motivation to act in the first place.
So how can we, like, hijack that dopamine response? Make the good habits we want more appealing?
One really effective technique is temptation bundling.
Temptation bundling. Sounds fun.
It is. You deliberately pair an action you genuinely want to do with an action you know you need to do, but maybe find less enjoyable.
Okay, how does that work?
The formula Clear gives is, after current habit, I will do habit I need. After habit I need, I will do habit I want.
Okay, give me an example.
Sure. Let's say you need to catch up on work emails, habit you need, but you'd rather listen to your favorite podcast, habit you want.
Okay.
You could bundle them. After my morning coffee, current habit, I will spend 15 minutes on emails, habit I need. After I finish my emails, I will listen to my podcast for 30 minutes, habit I want.
Ah, so the podcast becomes the reward for doing the emails.
Exactly. Or maybe you only allow yourself to watch your favorite Netflix show while you're exercising. You link the temptation to the necessary habit.
Using the fun stuff as a carrot for the important stuff.
Pretty much. Another big way to make habits attractive is tapping into social norms, our desire to belong.
Oh, yeah, peer pressure, but maybe used for good.
Kind of. Cleese talks about 3 key forms of social influence: closeness, the many, and the powerful.
Closeness, meaning we copy people we're close to, friends, family.
Yes, we naturally imitate the habits of those around us. Think about the Polgar sisters, the chess prodigies.
Right.
Their intense focus on chess seemed attractive, partly because it was the family norm. We absorb the habits of our tribe.
Makes sense. And the many, that's about conforming to the majority.
Exactly. We're social creatures. We want to fit in. Remember those classic ASHA conformity experiments?
Vaguely. People agreeing with wrong answers.
Yeah. People went along with the group even when the answer was obviously wrong. If a behavior earns us approval, respect, praise from the group, we find it more attractive.
Okay. And the last one, the powerful. Imitating high-status people.
Yep. We admire people with power, status, influence, and subconsciously we often copy their behaviors hoping for similar success. Think fashion trends or leadership styles.
So if we want to build a habit, surrounding ourselves with people who already do it well can make it more attractive to us.
Definitely. Being part of a culture where your desired habit is the normal behavior makes a huge difference.
And finally, Claire says we can actually reprogram our brains to enjoy hard habits more.
Yeah, by consciously associating them with positive experiences. Shifting our internal framing.
How?
It could be as simple as changing your language. Instead of thinking, I have to go for a run, try reframing it as, I get to build my endurance and clear my head.
Focusing on the benefits, not the chore aspect.
Exactly. Reframe saving money not as restriction, but as gaining future freedom. Highlight the positive associations. Over time, this conscious reframing can shift your intrinsic motivation and make those habits genuinely more appealing.
Okay, obvious, attractive. Law #3 is make it easy. This seems straightforward, but I bet there's more to it.
You bet. While it sounds simple, there are crucial details. Clear really hammers home that mastery comes from repetition, not perfection.
Get the reps in?
Yes, exactly. Focus on frequency. Habit formation is basically a behavior becoming more automatic through practice. It's neuroscience. Neurons that fire together, wire together, long-term potentiation.
So the more you do something, the easier the neural pathway becomes.
Precisely. And it's the frequency of performing the behavior, especially early on, that matters more than how long you do it or how intense it is.
So just showing up consistently, even for a short time, is better than occasional heroic efforts.
Absolutely. Especially when starting. Don't worry about the ideal duration yet. Focus on consistency. Make it easy to start. Your current habits have thousands of reps behind them. New ones need frequency to catch up.
And making it easy means reducing friction.
That's the key. Every habit is kind of an obstacle between you and the desired outcome. The harder it is, the more friction there is.
So we need to smooth the path.
Yes,
Yeah.
reduce the friction for good habits. Environment design is huge here again. We talked about cues. But you can also design your environment to make the action easier. Choose locations for habits that fit your routine. Prepare things in advance. Minimize steps.
Like that lean production example from Japanese factories.
Great analogy.
Mm.
They relentlessly eliminated wasted effort. Redesigned layout so tools were close, workflows streamlined, huge improvements.
You can do that for our habit.
Totally. Lay out the workout clothes, less searching friction. Pack the healthy lunch, less decision friction at lunchtime.
And the flip side, increase friction for bad habit.
You got it. Make undesirable behaviors harder, more inconvenient. Hide the cookies. Delete the distracting apps during work hours. Add steps. Even a little friction can disrupt unwanted patterns.
Okay. And the 2-minute rule. That sounds super useful.
It's incredibly powerful for getting started. The rule is, when starting a new habit, scale it down so it takes less than 2 minutes to do.
Less than 2 minutes, seriously.
Seriously, it overcomes that initial inertia, that feeling of being overwhelmed. Break the habit down to its absolute smallest first step.
So instead of read for 30 minutes,
It becomes read 1 page. Instead of do an hour of yoga.
lay out my yoga mat.
Exactly. Make the start so easy you can't say no.
Yeah.
Once you've started, you're much more likely to continue. It's about mastering the art of showing up.
It's like lowering the barrier to entry way down.
Way down. Think of it as the gateway habit. Not the end goal, just the entry points.
Okay. What about commitment devices? What are they?
Commitment devices are basically choices you make now to lock in your behavior later.
Controlling your future self?
Kind of. Making it harder to backslide. The classic example is Victor Hugo having his clothes locked away so he had to write.
Ha, extreme.
A bit. But modern examples could be buying food in single portions to avoid overeating, self-banning from gambling sites, prepaying for fitness classes.
So you make it more costly or inconvenient to break the good habit.
Exactly. You engineer your future choices. Sometimes success is just about making bad habits difficult.
And the ultimate form of making things easy or hard is automation.
Right. Using technology or making one-time choices that put good behaviors on autopilot and make bad ones almost impossible.
Like automatic savings transfers.
Perfect example. Or using website blockers. Smaller plates for portion control. These are one-time decisions with ongoing benefits. They reduce the need for constant willpower.
But as we kind of mentioned, tech can automate bad habits too, right? Autoplay, endless feeds.
Oh, absolutely. Technology makes it effortless to indulge impulses. Binge watching, scrolling. It removes all friction.
So sometimes we need to deliberately add friction back into technology.
Exactly. Like Clear did, having his social media passwords reset weekly. It made the time-wasting habit harder, impossible in the moment, freeing up focus.
Okay, laws 1, 2, and 3. Obvious, attractive, easy. Now the crucial final one. Make it satisfying. Law #4. This feels key for making habits stick.
It absolutely is, because our brains are fundamentally wired for immediate gratification.
Our caveman brains.
Pretty much, we evolved in an immediate return environment. Get food now, avoid danger now. Survival depended on quick payoffs.
But modern life isn't like that.
Not mostly. It's a delayed return environment. Benefits of good habits exercise, saving are often way off in the future. Costs of bad habits smoking, junk food, also often delayed.
That mismatch makes it hard to stick with good habits when the reward isn't right away.
Exactly. So we need to bridge that gap. The vital thing, Claire says, is to feel successful immediately after performing the habit. Even a small feeling of success.
That immediate positive feedback tells the brain, do this again.
Precisely. Which leads to his cardinal rule of behavior change. What is immediately rewarded is repeated. What is immediately punished is avoided. Simple, but profound.
So how do we apply that? How do we create immediate rewards?
One way is reinforcement. Deliberately give yourself an immediate reward right after the habit.
Like what kind of reward? Doesn't that create a new habit?
It needs to be aligned, ideally, and often small. Listen to a favorite song after a workout. Savor a small piece of dark chocolate after a focused work block. Even just mentally acknowledging it. Yes, I did it. That counts.
So the first three laws get you to do the habit this time.
And this fourth law, making it satisfying, makes you want to repeat it next time. Increases the odds significantly.
Okay. And tracking progress. That helps with satisfaction too.
Hugely. Making progress feels good. Visual tracking, habit tracker apps, food journals, check marks on a calendar provides clear, tangible evidence of your effort.
Like seeing the chain grow longer.
Exactly. That visual feedback reinforces the behavior, gives a small, immediate sense of accomplishment. Habit tracking does a few things. It's a visual cue, it's motivating, don't break the chain, and it feels satisfying to log success. Proof you're casting those identity votes.
But he warns about a dark side to tracking.
Yeah, got to be careful. You can sometimes start optimizing for the metric instead of the actual goal. Goodhart's law. When a measure becomes a target, it ceases to be a good measure.
Like focusing only on the scale number, not overall health.
Exactly. Using unhealthy methods just to hit the number. So, tracking is a tool, a guide, but don't let it replace the real purpose.
And what about when we slip up? Miss a day. How do we maintain satisfaction then?
Two simple rules. First, don't break the chain. Try hard to keep the streak going.
Okay.
But second, and maybe more important, never miss twice.
Never miss twice.
If you do miss a day, life happens, make absolutely sure you get back on track the very next time. Missing once is an anomaly. Missing twice starts a new negative pattern.
That feels achievable.
He also mentions accountability partners or habit contracts. Having someone else involved adds an immediate social cost to skipping, which can make sticking to it more satisfying.
Right, you don't want to let them down or pay up if it's a contract.
Exactly. And for breaking bad habits, the idea is to make not doing the habit satisfying.
How? Make doing nothing enjoyable.
Kind of. If you're cutting screen time, have appealing alternatives ready. Make choosing not to scroll feel like a positive choice, not just deprivation. Find satisfaction in the resistance itself.
This has been super comprehensive on the 4 laws. Are there any, advanced tactics, clear mentions for people ready to go further?
Yeah, he touches on a few things briefly. One is about aligning habits with your personality and genes, playing a game where the odds are already tilted in your favor.
Finding habits that suit you naturally.
Right. Also the explore-exploit trade-off. Balancing trying new things versus sticking with what works.
Okay.
He mentions combining skills to create a unique advantage, reducing competition like Scott Adams did with Dilbert, combining average drawing, business knowledge, and humor.
Ah, the synergy effect.
Exactly. And dealing with boredom in long-term habits. The difference between pros, who show up anyway, and amateurs, who need motivation. Using variable rewards to keep things interesting, like the Goldilocks rule challenge, is just hard enough.
And reflection.
Crucial. Reflection and review for long-term improvement. Even elite athletes like Kipchoge and Ledecky track meticulously and review their progress constantly.
Always learning, always adjusting. So what's the ultimate secret then for lasting results?
Ultimately, it circles back to identity, connecting habits to your core values. True, deep satisfaction comes from living in alignment with the person you want to be.
Not just chasing fleeting happiness.
Right. Happiness can be fleeting, tied to hitting goals. But pleasure and purpose often come from the process, from taking action aligned with your values. The habit loop involves desire to start and pleasure satisfaction to sustain. Both are key.
Okay, so bringing this deep dive to a close, what's the main takeaway? The core message from Atomic Habits?
I think it's this. Habits are the compound interest of self-improvement.
Compound interest. I
Yeah.
like that.
Small, seemingly tiny actions, done consistently over time, they accumulate. They compound into remarkable, often life-changing results.
It's not about massive overnight transformations.
Rarely. It's about recognizing that while one small improvement might feel insignificant today.
The cumulative effect over weeks, months, years is huge.
Exactly. It's the aggregation of marginal gains adding up to something substantial.
So a final thought for everyone listening.
Maybe just this. As you go about your day today, just pause for a second and consider, which small vote will you cast right now? Which tiny action will you take for the person you aspire to become?
Reflect on those cues, cravings, responses, and rewards in your own life.
Yeah. Start small, be consistent, and focus on becoming. And definitely if this sparked something, dig into the book itself. There's so much more depth there.